Deploying Stan's Robot Shop, a microservices application on AWS. This podcast is brought to you by Business Compass LLC. We are an Amazon Web Services advanced consulting partner. We build and migrate workloads to Amazon Cloud. Our website is businesscompassllc.com. Our phone number is 973-638-2228. Our email address is contact@businesscompassllc.us. Introduction: Embarking on a voyage, exploring robotics nerds' robot shop. Deploying a microservices application on AWS can be a complex journey, but it can become an exciting voyage with the proper guidance. This podcast will use Robotics Nerds Robot Shop, a microservices-based sample application, to demonstrate how to deploy and manage a microservices architecture on AWS. By the end of this podcast, you'll have a clear understanding of setting up the necessary AWS infrastructure and deploying a microservices application using Kubernetes. Prerequisites: setting up IAM user, EC2 instance, and required packages. Ensure you have the necessary prerequisites before diving into the deployment process. This includes setting up an IAM user, provisioning an EC2 instance, and installing the required packages. IAM user creation in AWS. Sign into AWS Management Console. Log into your AWS account. Navigate to IAM. Go to the Identity and Access Management (IAM) service. Create a new user. Click on Users and then Add User. Username. Provide a username, for example, Robot Shop Deployer. Access type. Select programmatic access to create an access key. Attach policies. Assign the necessary policies to the user. Administrator access. For this guide, we will use administrator access for simplicity. Review and create. Review the settings and click Create User. Note down the access key ID and secret access key. EC2 instance provisioning. Launch an EC2 instance. Navigate to the EC2 dashboard and click Launch Instance. AMI. Choose an Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Instance type. Select an instance type, for example, T2.micro. Key pair. Select or create a key pair for SSH access. Network settings. Configure the VPC and subnet. Storage. Allocate storage as needed. Security group. Configure a security group to allow SSH, port 22, access from your IP. Launch. Review the instance details and launch the instance. Connect to instance and install required packages. SSH into the instance. Use the key pair to connect to the instance. SSHI/path/2/keypair.pemec2 user at e.c. 2 public IP greater than. Update and install packages. Update the system and install Docker and Kubernetes tools. Sudo yum update y. Sudo yum install y docker. Sudo systemctl start docker. Sudo usermod ag docker ec2 user. Sudo yum install y kubectl. EKS cluster setup and configuration. Setting up commands for configuring IAM ODK provider. Install AWS CLI. Ensure AWS CLI is installed. Sudo yum install y AWS CLI. Create an OIDI key identity provider. Configure the IAM OIDI provider for EKS. Extl utils associate IAM OIDT provider region cluster name approve. Setting up ALB add-on. Install the ALB ingress controller. Deploy the ALB ingress controller using Helm. Helm repo add xhttps://aws.github.io/xcharts. Helm repo update. Kubectl apply. kgithub.com/aws/xcharts/stable/aws load balancer controller//crds ? Ref equals master. Helm install AWS load balancer controller x/AWS load balancer controller. Set cluster name equals cluster name. Set service account.create equals false. Set region equals region. Set VPC ID equals VPC ID. Set service account.name equals AWS load balancer controller. EBS CSI plugin setup and configuration. Install the EBS CSI driver. Deploy the EBS CSI driver to manage EBS volumes. Kubectl apply kgithub.com/kubernetes. sig/aws ebs CSI driver/deploy/kubernetes/overlays/stable/ecr/?ref equals master. Robotics Nerd Robot Shop deployment. Clone the repository. Clone the Robotics Nerd Robot Shop repository. Git clone https://github.com/instana/robotshop.git. cd robotshop/k8s. Deploy the application. Apply the Kubernetes manifest to deploy Robotics Nerd Robot Shop. Kubectl apply f namespace.yaml. Kubectl apply f. Conclusion. Unveiling the depths, a voyage through Robotics Nerd Robot Shop deployment and configuration. Deploying a microservices application on AWS using Kubernetes involves several critical steps, from setting up IAM users and EC2 instances to configuring EKS and deploying the application. By following this podcast, you have embarked on a journey through the depths of AWS infrastructure and Kubernetes configuration, culminating in the successful deployment of Robotics Nerd Robot Shop. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please share this podcast, visit our website and follow our social media links.